What is up, you guys? This is my 2013 G37 Sedan. It's rear-wheel drive. And in this video, I am going to show you how to replace the covers on your seats because mine are clapped. If you know, you know. Any VQ, Nissan for that matter, especially ones this old, the seats tend to crack, especially if the previous owners did not take great care of them. I'm just gonna go over, and this is kind of a learning experience because there's no videos out on how to do this, and I guess I just wanted to be the first person to really jump into it, and you can learn on the way. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, so to begin, very obviously, you are going to want to move your seat back. If you don't know how to take your seats out, this is how you do it. You're going to pop these pieces of trim here. Very simply, just pull them out. And you're gonna have a 14 mil here. I highly recommend going with the impact because these are basically impossible to take off with a regular ratchet. I didn't have any luck. These were never, the time I took them off before to redo my headliner, just so I could access the pillars here, it was impossible. So, it's very easy to do this if you just have an impact. You have this one here and this one here to pop off, and you have another 14 under that. Those two. All right, so once you have all of those undone, you should be able to tilt the seat up just like this. You're gonna find the wiring harness is clipped in by a clip here, and a clip back here. In order to actually get the seat out, you do need to disconnect these connectors that actually plug it into the seat. And then you're gonna find these 4 connectors. This big one here, this one, and this one. All you have to do is simply just pull it out like that. There we go. And then you have this one last one back here. But you get the gist of it. All you have to do is really just push down the tabs and you should be able to slide them right out. So, and then after that, the harness should just lay on the floor. So, and then you should be able to just take the whole seat out. All right, so this is the one I bought. I have a set for both the passenger and the bottom seat. And I saw them on like Amazon or eBay. I'll be completely honest, like the leather quality, it isn't that bad for like how much you pay for it. Like it's certainly better than this, but this is because it's been baked on the car. Because the previous owner who had this car didn't have tint, which is wild in Florida. I don't know. I've been a Florida car its entire life, so kind of explains why the leather got cooked. But did want to point out some comparisons. It has all these clips that are on the sides here, and if you look here, we have clips just like that going onto these. So I don't think it should be too intricate. Have that second one in there, you can't really see it, but that would be like these here. So I think it really is just a matter now of taking off the plastic trim, and it should just pop off. I'm gonna kind of experiment. There's these clips that hold in this one here, and it's also held in right here. by some tabs. So I'll just go around, and as I figure it out, I'll take videos. So I'll get this one off and I'll come back once I am getting to this piece. So the first difference I've started to notice on like the OEM compared to this one is that there's no holes for this trim to catch onto this. So nothing like a razor can do, but you know, you gotta make holes in the aftermarket replacement. All right, so I'm trying to make this as detailed as possible. So you can see here, this is on the front piece, like I was just in the last clip, just showing in the last clip. But they have a plastic lining that goes across, and it's the same thing on this. So should hold in place right here on this bar that goes across. So now I'm gonna move on to getting this trim piece off. All right, so to get this one off, there's a clip right here. Focus, there we go. There's a clip here, which I did actually fucking break. That's a big L. But I'll have to probably just take this out and see if I can glue it back onto this piece. This can stay connected. This is your power controls, because you don't need to take it off. And to get this back piece off, I had to push up this and kind of like go up and out, and it just came out. And that was held in right here by this clip. Didn't really have to undo this one down here. But you know, this is a learning experience. So just get it all back together. But as you can see, I think this is held in by several different pieces here, but we could potentially, take it off without having to remove these bolts. But as I figure it out, you know, I'll see what's up. All right, so I believe the next step is going back up here to the top, the front, and getting to those white pieces right in there. And there's a little edge to it, and if you pull down on the edge, it should come unclipped. And then just do that across the whole bar, this whole bar here. And that's what'll get this part free. And I think it's the same gist with this one here on this side. So once I get those unclipped, I'll continue. All right, so I figured out if you have a pry tool laying around for interior trim and you get it pulled up enough and you just run it across, it should just pop right off. So it exposes that entire metal piece there. And I'm gonna get started on these side pieces now. We have them on both sides. Okay, so I was able to get these undone. So I found that it's held on right here on this edge. And then you have these two pieces down here. If you're able to get this one off, honestly, you can rough house with this, because if you're replacing it, why are you being gentle with it? You know? So, have that off. I started to notice that we have these clips here, but this is more of like an extended piece that just covers up these bars. So you have more clips under here, and that's what these are. These clips here match with these. And then this one goes around the wires, this one here, and clips onto this piece here. So I've just been undoing these because they're easy. And then I'm gonna move over to this side. And what I noticed when I started to pull this off is that this is all held in right here by this piece of fabric. with this plastic piece at the bottom. That may be hard to see because I'm filming this on an iPhone. But if you begin to look at the replacements, they don't have holes in them. So either like a hole punch or something like that, that may be your best bet to put the holes in this. The way I got these two off was simply just sliding it this way. I slid them this way and they came right off. And then this one, you have to push up on the edge here and it should pop up and out like that. So with that being said, that is how you get all of that loose. So now it's just a matter of figuring out how it, well, this comes off the same way these came off. But really just figuring out how to get it separated from the foam. Okay, so this one just came off with a little bit of just pull and force. This one, I can just show you if you just push down and out. It came off this clip. It's just like the other side. It's just one little piece that holds this part. And then there's another one down there. But typically, I've been finding that if you push down and out, it comes off that clip very easy. This piece that I was talking about isn't included on that. It's simply just the piece that is connected on the back. I don't know why I thought it would be connected to that somehow. So I found that the two connections down here, I just went ahead and disconnected those. And there are two 14s on each side of the top piece here. And I think the only way we're gonna get this off is if we actually take this piece off. So it was just held in by 14s. I used an impact once again. And it took a little bit of oomph, but it came out, so yeah. Now I just gotta figure out how to, I noticed these are like looped through this, and this goes in. So like pulling this off, I think you have to feed the wires through the fabric here in order to take this piece off. So let me just do some toying around and see what I can figure out. All right, so I believe, kind of just going down the line here, I wanted to show this. This is a little discovery I made. So all of these pieces are held in by these round pieces of wire. If you look here, I kind of messed this fabric up trying to get this out. I think just for learning purposes, I can make the sacrifice of just doing this in a way that can show you how to do it and what you're gonna be looking for. So, but if you can see there, if it'll focus, it just wraps around in a single loop. So I'm thinking if you just take two needle nose pliers and separate them, you can just unloop it. And you gotta do that for the 4. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so in this clip, I was basically explaining that you should pull it apart with pliers. But to be honest, if you just get wire cutters, it'll make the process a whole lot quicker. As I was saying in the video, this was a learning process, so I was kind of doing everything myself, just kind of figuring it out. But just cut them out. Save yourself the time. It'll save you a lot of time. All right, in this clip, I was basically just showing that I cut the fabric between that plastic bar that's held in by the wire loops. I cut the fabric so it would separate. But to be honest, just take a pair of heavy-duty wire cutters, you'll see me use them in later clips, and just cut out all those loops that you see the plastic being held in by. Finding that I have to do a lot of voiceovers for these clips because I was kind of wrong as I figured out, and to make it a lot easier for everyone watching. Here I'm realizing that I should just take wire cutters and cut out the loops. And I kind of pointed out the black piece under there, thinking that was the heating pad. No, that is for the airbag. It's the weight sensor for the airbag. The heating pad that is in the cover, if you have heated seats, it's actually in the cover itself. And you'll see what I had to do in the next clip. I basically had to cut it out of the old cover and put it onto the foam. But that is essentially what I discovered in this clip. That's me lifting up the foam. One thing I found is that this needs to be cut out if you want to keep your heated seats, because it's all attached. So just gotta cut out the ends and then lay it flat. Alright, so after that, and after you have cut out the heated portion, because I didn't think it was actually part of the cover itself, and cutting it out shouldn't be a problem because there's no wiring that runs along the edge here. It's all throughout the middle. I think I'm gonna lay down a little bit of double-sided tape along the edges of here just so this stays in place, because it will not stay in place if you just slide it over. You're gonna bunch up everything in one place. So yeah, kind of just sort that out first and get this laid properly. So your heated seats, they still function the way they should. Okay, so just a quick update. What I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna go out and buy some wire that's about this thick, and I'm essentially gonna cut all of these out and put them in the new one, because I just tried fitting this on and it's not tucked down into the edges. Like, if you don't want it to look clean, if you don't want it to look clean, go that route. But I want it to look as if I never even touched them, and it was never as bad. So yeah, I don't know if that's gonna be the end of today, just in terms of getting this done, but I find these need to face down like that. These need to face down like that. Damn. And if you don't have them pulled in using wire like this, they just remain like this. So if you were to put it on, it's gonna look like a seat cover. It's not gonna look like OEM fitment, I guess you could say. In terms of keeping this in place, I just used 2 pieces of super sticky duct tape. Say all you want about that. Half the shit in this car is held together by tape, whether it be wires or tubes. So I don't really care. I don't. Yeah. I'm not really cutting corners, but if you want to call it cutting corners, you can. But yeah, I'm gonna go run out and grab some of that wire so I can start getting that done. Alright, so just an update here. I went out and bought 25 feet of this 18 gauge galvanized steel wire, just because the gauge itself really matched up with the wire they have down here. The only way that you're gonna get the cover to sit correctly on the seat is if you go through and cut all of these out and recreate it. Or if you can find a way to separate all of them and just keep the originals. I just think this is this was literally $3 to get a bolt that's just about the same width or diameter of the thing, and this was like $2 for 25 feet. So just save yourself the headache and just cut all of them out and make the clips yourself. Alright, so in this clip I'm constantly showing this bolt thinking that I could just wrap it around the bolt and create a ton of new clips. I did not end up going that route. You do not have enough clearance for your fingers to do that. You'll end up seeing what I do, but it doesn't include this bolt. I just figured I'd add a voiceover over this, so you're probably like, where does the bolt come in? Anywhere later on in the video. And I also realized I keep on saying 18 gauge, it's 16 gauge wire, and you can get it from Home Depot. I think it was like less than $3 for that entire roll. Alright, so now it is a couple days later. I managed to get all these pinned in using the wire that I had shown. There's like a whole strategy you gotta do to get this stuff in here. It's so hard. But what I noticed is there's these grooves in the foam. And since these don't have holes in them already, I just used a regular hole punch and slid it over the wire and down to each mark and made a hole punch there because it lines up perfectly with the wire below. You have to fish the wire through this first and down into there and almost hook it under and pull it up. And they're really hard to see, but they aren't gonna look perfect. Just if you're able to pull them down and then twist the ends so they don't come undone, it pulls it down enough to where it looks just like the OEM seats, rather than a seat cover. It's very difficult to describe, but think of it just like fishing a fishing line through here, down through there and up, and then pulling each end to make a circle or an oval. And then you want to twist the wire at the ends to create that closed circle or oval, and it should be pulled down enough. And I haven't done it on the other side yet, as you can see, but they have all the guidelines here. There are guidelines for these, but you don't need to snip these because that is part of the airbag system. Alright, so for this clip, I'm basically explaining how to fish the wire through. You want to take it and fish from the edge of the seat into the middle and up through the cover part and make sure that that flap is pointed down. Then I'm saying you want to take both ends and pull them together so it makes a real tight loop, and then twist the ends so you enclose the loop, just so you have it secure. So just to show the finished product, that is what it should look like. And you're gonna have the twisted part tucked into the foam right in there. So just to kind of go over this again, just hole punch, and those line up with the lines here, not these lines where they already have the airbag protection or like the airbag sensor. And you're gonna cut pieces of wire about this size, because it gives you enough room to hook it under and over and then pull both the sides together to make the oval, and then twist it and cut it. These to cut the wire. I already have this side, and this side done. And this is how it sits once it's locked in place. Looks nice and flush. It doesn't look like it's hanging up off the sides. And one thing I did want to say is you want to start from this side and go up. Don't do like 1 and then 2 and then 3, because you're gonna have such a hard time getting these threaded through. Alright, so got all of those wires tapped in. Not wires, but like the wire itself tapped into the edges here. And this is how it sits without it being clipped back in yet. I think it looks great. Much better than what it looked like before. So I'm happy with it. The next step I'm doing is putting these 14s back in with my impact. I'm doing them kind of opposite, so I did this one first, this one second, I'm gonna do this one third, and that last one right in here. And then work on getting all these clips onto the underside of the seat. Alright, so, you know, flip it to its underside, and the ones that are actually part of the seat cover, you're going to put it on this first one, and I'm not really going to show how to clip it in. It's very self-explanatory. I mean, I can do it with this one really quick, but all you're doing is just pulling it up and clipping it on. And then this one that went around these wires just goes on the one right next to it. So this one, and then this one, and then that one. And then these go right above this bar in here. Boom. There's that. And then it's just a matter of getting these back onto the rails here and these clips here on both sides. And then the one up here on this rail. And then, just as I was saying before, you're gonna need to cut holes in this to fit this trim piece in right here that goes in the front, or like that. Yeah. Alright, so the next thing I did was I took the seat cover portion and clipped it back in just as it was shown in the beginning. So first you put this one on, and then the one that goes under and around the wires down here, and then this one directly across, so it stays in place. And then you're going to take the back portion attached to the back of the seat and go 2 up. So it's just like that. Next portion is figuring out how to get these rails here, here, and on this side to clip in to the seat itself, these rails. And I don't think it'll be too hard. I think the final step is going to be cutting this leather to fit this trim piece in, because it doesn't come with the holes preset. Alright, so I managed to get all of them in. To get this one in, I just pushed it on this side first in, and then this side, and then I push it down and up, and you should hear it click. It's basically the same for this side. It's very easy. Thought it was gonna be harder because I didn't think the leather would have give. But yeah, should all be latched in. So this is what I did. I just made 3 slits because they go into here. And what I did is I pulled it over and cut. And I'm probably gonna fit the piece in first and then clip it in. Alright, so your next step is getting this trim piece in. I unfortunately broke this part. So I was thinking I could probably just super glue it in there. That may be stupid though, it's probably just cooked. So just be careful with that, because now I don't know if this will fit flush, but there are 2 plastic pieces that hold this in. I took them out and put them in place behind, just so it can snap right on, so I don't have to like finagle it, and you just push it right in. So that's your next step. These go into these slots right in here. You got a couple of them. Here, I think it's just those 2. There. So it should just snap right in. So there it is. That's how it looks finished. The edges here look kind of wonky, but other than that, it looks much better than a torn up seat. Last step would just be repeating what you've done on this side with this trim piece here to fit it in here. So I'll go ahead and do that off camera, but you just take any pry tool and get these edges out from this main piece here, and then you place them behind here, and then you essentially just carefully snap it on. Okay, so I found that if you start from this edge and pry up, it's the easiest way to get it out. One thing I will say is that you want to be delicate with these pieces, because the clips are very soft. Any Nissan plastic piece, like, just to show y'all, this was me taking it off. It snapped there. It won't really matter because it'll be covered, but in just preservation of your pieces, just very carefully work your way in here and then pry up in this blank space, and it should bring the clips out. Alright, so just to reiterate, it's kind of nice because it almost has these guide clips. That may be hard to see. I can turn the brightness up a bit, but it should lay right on the middle. That's the back piece there. Here. And then you just come in, you can just go in and snap it around. Alright, so there you go, there you have it. There is a piece here that clips into metal. I just went ahead and pushed that in first and then worked around the edges to get it in. So that is the finished product for the passenger side. Alright, so I got the seat back in. If you know, you know, it's a bitch to get this seat in and out. Just make sure it's reclined in quite a bit before you take it in or out. That'll make it the easiest to get it in and out. So just make sure, you know, you have your bolts out of placement, and just work on getting these connections back in. I already showed how to get them out, but I might as well just show how to get them back in. So your big one goes here, and then these, kind of self-explanatory, you know, go bam, bam, oh, bam, and bam. There you go. You know, if you want to put these back in, you can. I really realistically only put one in, just so it's not really dangling. Won't get caught in anything somehow, some way. And then it's pretty self-explanatory. Just put your 14s back in and boom, you're done. All right, next is the back bolts. Pretty, self-explanatory. Go ahead. Boom. Boom. And then the next thing you want to do is replace your trim. All right, your next step is going to be putting your trim pieces back in. It's pretty self-explanatory. I'm not really going to show how to do it. It's very self-explanatory, so that's it. And boom. No more cocked seat.
A few moments later.
Alright, so it is now a different day, and I think I'm going to tackle the seat. Probably be much quicker than that one, just because I already know what to expect. So, with that being said, 2 14s right here and in the back, impact. Move it all the way back to get these two, move it all the way forward to get the ones in the back. Obviously you have to pop the trim if you have the trim. If you don't, it's just, bolts are there. Alright, so same gist. If you want to disconnect the battery, you can. I didn't with the other seat and it was just fine. But you have this big connector here. You have one here and one here. And that would be it for this one. I've already taken these out. Obviously, as I said before, to do my headliner and my pillars. So all of these are already unclipped from their positions, but in order to actually get the harness disconnected, you have to disconnect these clips. So with that being said, you have one here, boom, that comes out like that, push this in, that comes out, and then there is a little clip right in here you have to push down and you can pull it out. I know that this one is a little bit more stubborn from experience, so I'm going to do it off camera, but essentially you just push this tab in and it should slide right out if you give it enough force. Alright, so this is out. The best way I found to do it is have one finger push in the pin and then have your other hand, well actually have one finger right here and then one finger on this side, and then have your other hand push both sides of your hands, like push this up as this is pushed down, and it should slide right out. So once that's out, you can take the seat out. I recommend that you have it reclined up quite a bit. It's just going to make it easier to take out of the car, whereas if it was reclined back, you're not going to have a lot of free movement. So yeah, you can shimmy it out of the front or you can pull it out of the back. I find that if you have it reclined up like this, you can pick it up, move it this way, and it should come out the front just fine. Alright, so same gist as the passenger seat. You're gonna have two clips here that just come off, push up this way, and then pull up, and it should come out. Same for this side. You can just slide that one right off, just like that. And then you got this one here. Any one that's on an edge like this, you can just slide it to your right, and it should come off. So boom, and then you have one right down there that you also take off. And that should undo that. And I'm seeing now that there's one here too. That comes off this little piece here. So it should all be disconnected from the back now. And now you can move on to the sides. And just like before, you have these trim pieces here that you need to pop up and off. Do that with a pry tool. Don't just rip it off because you are going to fuck something up. And just like the previous one, you have one on the rails here. You have one up behind here once you pop this trim off. And obviously one that goes down the side here. That's on this trim piece here. I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. It's held in 3 places, these clips here. So once you pop those out, it'll give you access to this leather panel here, and you can peel it back up, and that will give you clearance to this slider here, or this like tab, whatever you want to call it. This is held together just by clips. Pop that off, and then I can explain this rear portion again on both sides. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that done. All right, so to get this off, I just used any kind of pry tool, went under right where it is, and used the leverage to push up on each portion, and it came up. There's a tab here and a clip here that goes across. Be careful because I did kind of snap this one here. It's just held in by a little like plastic circle, and you have 2 clips here, and then that last clip there that's held in by this little tiny piece here. And if we come around, once again, be careful, that one's already snapped. Let me reposition this. All right, so I found that there's a clip right in the middle of here. So if you use one hand to pull right here, and then another hand here, don't pull one side more than the other. That's how you break a clip. I found that this one was already broken. I know I didn't break it doing that one, but I think it's just been broken. And I'm seeing a lot of old foam from the seat. I may just get a vacuum and clean all this up, because honestly, I think it's a fire hazard if you ask me. Like, all this dry foam around the electrical connection is not okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean that up. And to explain these back pieces, you wanna get a pry tool in between these portions and just pry it through, and this will come off. And it's basically the same for the other side. So there's this bit of separation right here. If you start from the edge and move your way around, this whole portion should come off. And I would like to reiterate that there's a clip, a metal clip that holds the center piece of this in. So don't pull it with force. You're gonna crack this, and that's just unusable. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and separate these portions here so I can get this off, so I can remove the top portion so I can have it off to the side. All right, so as you can see, metal clip here. Just want to be careful about that. That's why I said go on this side and right up here and pull it. I went ahead and left these 2 plastic pieces right here. They're gonna come out anyways once I take this off. And yeah, that's how it looks once you take it off. Now this side, it isn't as tedious just because it's a smaller piece. But there you go, you heard it unclip. If you can get that separated enough, you can get a really thin flathead or a pry tool and then just go around, and it should be good. All right, so I was able to get this off. I simply just popped the back here, and then what I did was I moved this up and it came out. I wasn't trying to risk breaking this piece, so I just left it on. It shouldn't be a problem getting it back in. If anything, you can take it off and put it in and then snap everything in one place, like at once. And don't take off these 14s yet on either side, because you want to move this back down on its back again. And having that back piece in place will help you get these rails, or these clips that are on these rails, off easier. If you don't have the back connected, it's gonna be a struggle trying to keep this up and getting everything off. So leave it on, and then once you have everything unclipped, you can undo the 14s on both sides, so you can take this back portion off. All right, to make this easier for you to figure out, you want to pry from the edge here, push this part of the seat down with the cover and the foam, so you get a bit more leeway, and then peel it from the edge on both sides. I haven't done this side yet. And then once you have both sides peeled out, you can just pull from both sides and work your way in towards the middle, and this should just come right off. I've already started one side, but I need to get the other side. And then once you meet at the middle, it'll just pop right out. Would also like to add, this one, you just peel from this edge, pull down and out, and it'll start to come out. If you don't have any patience, you can literally just take a razor and go down it and cut it. I just don't want to damage anything. And you want to move your seat belt down, because if you just leave it here, you're not going to get the clearance you need to pull this out. And I did want to remind, this is the only portion that's an actual like rail. Once you get down to here, it's just these two clips here, metal clips, and it's much easier to get out once you have this portion done. All right, so once you get that portion undone, I'd say just start peeling it back, because it's gonna give you more give on this end to get this clip off. This one's much easier. I think from what I remember, on the passenger side, there was a lot of just like sliding and you can pull it out, much rather than trying to pry it off. So yeah, that's the last thing you need to do before you can take the 14s on both sides off. All right, so got those off. I'm realizing now why I have all this foam down here, because this whole portion here is just blown out. There's like no density there. So I may try to find a solution for that. I may just fill it with like cotton or like foam if I can find it. But if you can see, there's like nothing there. Same just as last time. You have all these creases. Thank freaking God that there's no wire holding this round portion in. But as you can see here, it just goes down in the creases and this center portion here. If you look on the replacement, it has all of those guides, just like the passenger side. So that's gonna be the real challenge. But at this point, once you have this done, you can take these 14s off finally. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. All right, so your next step to getting this off, there's these pieces of wire here that you're gonna have to clip with some wire clippers. There's 2 on each side, kind of just as I showed. And then, since obviously you're not gonna be reusing this, take this little harness here. It's just fabric. It's on the new one too. I couldn't figure out how to get it through. I think you're just gonna need to take all of this off if you were to do that, but I guess that's my only portion of cutting corners. I don't think it really matters all too much. I just cut this and then cut straight down this so you can get this whole flap up. All right, so just as I said, once you cut this, make a cut down that center piece and undo those wire portions. This should flap right up. And then it's going to give you access to all of these portions down the crease. And just as I said before, you're going to need your pair of wire cutters, and you're going to go down the edge and you are going to cut all of those out. And once you have cut all of those out on all ends, start with the sides first, because that's going to give you access to the center one, and then finally end it with this back one. All right, that's how it should look. Just be very freaking careful not to cut the actual thing it's hooked onto. I could see that happening with some people. And yeah, you just gotta be careful about that. As you can see, starts to come up once you cut those. So just that side next, or you could either or. Then do your middle, and then finally finish with your back. All right, so once you have this side done, should give you enough space to access the ones you have in here. You're gonna cut those out. I'm pretty sure it's only 1, 2, and 3. They have all these cuts in the foam to kind of let you know where each one is, which I think is pretty handy, because on the new ones, the guides don't have any holes in them. So you're gonna want to use those lines, just as I said on the passenger side, with a hole punch or a razor, whatever you want to use, make holes there so you can feed the new wire through. So that's what they look like. Just as I was saying, do not cut this by accident. Please look where you're actually cutting, because once this is cut, you have no way of actually securing the cover down. So the last portion I need to do is just this rear portion. And just like the passenger side, the heating portion, if you have heated seats, it's part of the actual cover. So you're gonna have to go in and cut that out and then tape it down to an edge using a piece of very sticky duct tape or utility tape, whatever you can find. And yeah, so I'm gonna cut out this back portion. Should only be 3, just like this front portion here. If not, maybe 4. All right, so just as I was saying, it is in fact 3. You have 1, 2, and 3. And after you cut out the heating pad portion, because as you can see, it is connected to the inside, you're gonna have to go through to this layer and then cut it from the edge, the very edge. And once you have it undone, you can lay it flat on here. The logical way of putting the new cover in would be to essentially just do it in the reverse order. So you're gonna start from the back, then this, and then from either side you can start. Just thinking about it, that's gonna be the easiest way to do it. Certainly, this is certainly quicker doing it on the driver's seat now after you've done one seat. I've maybe only been doing this for less than an hour and I'm already at this portion. So once you do the passenger seat, just call yourself an upholstery expert, because at this point, it's going pretty quick for me. It's not very hard. I would not recommend you do this if you aren't good with small parts or putting things back together or whatever. It is intricate, but once you do one side, the other side is much easier. All right, you have like this layer here, then you have some foam, and that'll give you access to that. And I'm gonna reiterate, cut down the very edge, just like you're seam ripping like a pair of pants or something. If you're not familiar with that, just do it close to the seam. I'm thinking of repurposing this foam and just throwing it in this portion here to give us some more density, because this cover isn't gonna lay right if I don't have the density. So I have some foam here, why not use it, you know? If you find yourself running into the same problem and you want more of a complete fix, I guess, you could go out and buy some like memory foam or like thicker foam, and you wouldn't have to use as much, but I don't have that on hand. I simply just want to get some of this density back up so it doesn't look like there's empty space between the new cover and the foam. Alright, so once you've cut it out, this is kind of how it should look. I have this dirty portion here, simply just because it really ripped through to that portion. It got that bad. And yeah, these are fried. I'm so glad I'm getting rid of them and that I found this fix. I'd been waiting to see if I could find replacements just like this for the longest. So just have it like that. Very obviously, get your tape and tape down the edges so it stays in place once you put the new, we'll start putting the new cover in, because I found that it shifts around quite a bit, and that was the only fix I could find. So I would put one piece here, one thinner piece here, and then maybe one on this side and one on this side. I found on the passenger I only needed to do it in the front here. But obviously you're gonna be in the driver's seat more, so you don't want it shifting around a lot. So just kind of lock it in place a bit more, you know? But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get the foam density back in like I was saying before. I'm not gonna repeat myself again. I don't want this to be redundant, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So this is kind of the solution I came up with. I folded it neatly, one into like a square and one into a rectangle. I'm not worried about it looking janky, because once it's like being pushed down by the leather, it'll just give it that density. I was thinking about putting tape over this just to hold it together, but with it being compressed by the new cover, I don't think it'll be a problem. I think if I were to put tape on it, it would eventually just come undone and it would look kind of janky somehow, some way. So this is my experiment with it, I guess, you know? Next thing I'm gonna do is get this taped in, and then you can start feeding the wire through these portions once you have the new guides cut or punched holes in, as I'm doing before with a regular hole punch. And yeah, you can just start replacing it again. So this is kind of how I hole punched it. I'm gonna do the middle one first, and then focus on the sides. And then you're gonna do this one, and then the sides. Now you may go around. Actually, no, I'm gonna do it when it's in place, just so I have more accurate hole punches. But I'm gonna get these tethered in first. You always wanna have it pointing down like that, then fish it through. Remember to use longer pieces of wire, it's gonna make it easier for you. Loop it through, make an oval or circle, and then twist the ends, then cut it, and then once you have it cut, flip it down so you have the closed portion going over this piece here, because you don't want any wire poking up. I feel like that may create problems, and then you might eventually have wire poking up if you leave it long enough. So yeah. Alright, so as you can see, it's kind of how I did it. I just twist it and then push it back into the foam, So the curved portion is over both the wire there and this new guide, and it should be right in place. So essentially you're just gonna repeat that up here and on the sides. Alright, so just an update. Got those 3 in now. So this portion is laid down completely. So now just to move on to the edges, and then we can start putting this all back together. Alright, so just a little update. Got this edge all done up. Everything tucked right. So last but not least, just this side. Already made the holes, lines right up with the lines that are in the seats, or the foam I should say for the seats. So yeah, essentially, you know, as I've explained before, you're gonna want to put it down like that, and then loop it through and create those loops, and you can just start putting it back together after this. Alright, so I ended up getting all sides done. Looks great to me. Now it's just a matter of fitting the cover over the foam and putting these hinges back into place. So I may do that off camera. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's kind of just like the passenger seat. It's pretty easy to get these on, so. Alright, so once you have finished fitting it all over, this is what it should look like. Shouldn't see any like pieces hanging up or anything like that. It should all be pinned down. The next thing I would do, just so you can start getting all of these on, is reattaching your 14s in all of the designated holes. So you can flip this back and you can get all of these rear clips in with these. Alright, so boom. Once you make those slits, you can properly fit the trim back into its portion here. Then all you have to worry about is getting the trim back on those covers and on the side here. Alright, so this is the finished product. With everything installed and back in place. I think came out great. Now it's just a matter of installing it back in the car. Alright, so boom. Just plug 1, 2, 3. And I'd recommend you feed the seat in through the back door. See, I was able to get it in through the, I was able to get it out through the front. But trying to get it in through the front, messed it up while taking it out. And messed this up while trying to put it in. So boom, it's done. So that is it for this video. I'd like to thank you if you took the time out to watch it. I enjoyed making it. I like that I was able to provide this information for this community, this platform, whatever you want to call it. If you'd like to see more, let me know in the comments. I got a whole build. Plan on getting my cartoon soon, so if you want to see more content of that, just let me know. Go ahead and subscribe if you'd like to as well. Thank you for watching.